next, we get to hear from the other persecuted, prosecuted, incarcerated, and now pardoned Lauren Handy. Lauren was sentenced to 57 months in prison and now is a free woman. And Lauren, I would love for you to share with all of us. Tell us about, rewind, tell us about the experiences of your pro-life efforts, the arrest and the prosecution. Kind of like give us the backstory, and then we'll get up to speed with where we've been and where we are today.
Well, my name is Lauren Handy. I've been doing full-time sidewalk counseling and anti-abortion activism for probably 12 years now. My bread and butter has always been being out in front of the actual abortion facilities, reaching out to people in crisis pregnancies. And through my journeys of sidewalk counseling across 32 different states, I met with people who rescued in the 80s and 90s. And it was very compelling, the call to, if abortion is murder, then act like it. Are my actions aligned with my values? And I felt over the years that my actions were falling short of my values, and that in my belief of nonviolent direct action, of going to where the actual killing is, being with them to the moments, to their last moments, and trying to stop them from being brutally murdered, that it was compelling. It made sense spiritually, it made sense philosophically, politically. And so in 2020, myself and a bunch of other people, we ended up going to Washington Surgery Center, where they do late-term elective abortions. And not only that, Live Action exposed this abortion facility, this business of, if the child survives the abortion tip, cesarean tangibly would kill them afterwards. And so there was layers upon layers of urgency of why a rescue was needed at this specific location, because it wasn't just abortion, it was infanticide. It was wholesale exploitation on multiple levels. And so that day in October of 2020, we went there, and we put our bodies between the oppressed and the oppressor. We put our bodies between the killer. And it was emotionally charged. A lot of things happened. But when you're trying your hardest, you're giving it your all, you're being passionate, and we can't be ashamed of that. We can't be ashamed of passionate, bold responses to egregious violence. And a lot of people in the ensuing years had tried to shame us, have tried to tamper our passion, but this is literal child murder. And we have to be bold and passionate in our responses. We can't give into the apathy that what an ongoing everyday genocide entails for us. And so 2 years later, we were going to go rescue there again, myself and Teresa Bukovac. And there was a medical waste truck driver out in front of the same exact abortion facility, and there was boxes labeled medical waste. And we talked to the man, and he was like, well, what are you going to do if you take one of the boxes? And under the assumption that there were fetal remains inside, I said a funeral and a burial. He agreed and let us take the box. And inside there were the bodies of 115 aborted children. And that sparked the international campaign of Justice for the Five, because the 5 extremely late-term aborted children. And that same 5 days after finding the remains of the children, I was arrested by the FBI. It wasn't that shocking for me that I was getting arrested. I knew eventually this was going to happen because I had been going into abortion facilities, like multiple times a year, getting arrested multiple times a year. And, a lot of my mentors said all roads are going to lead to federal prison. And it did. And so the trial, it lasted 3 weeks. That was longer than normal because it was so hard to find an impartial jury, because it was shocking that they allowed abortion donors on our jury. And so we kind of knew where things were going to end up, but we still tried our hardest in every chance. You can't give up just because the cards are stacked against you. You're playing the long game, you're looking towards the future, what you're doing in the here and now matters, trying matters.
Lauren, I think about, I was, as you were talking, I was thinking about, I have books back on my shelves behind me here, some of the autobiographical works of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I think about our American experience and the rich history of times where nonviolent civil disobedience was necessary, when we need to stand up for those, as Dr. King said, injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. And thank you. I've been outside of that horrific abortion center in DC. I just want to challenge everybody listening. Lauren has sidewalk counseled outside of abortion centers in 32 states. I think the rest of us need to kind of up our game a little bit. Just saying, I think we all need to kind of like raise the bar a little bit. But thank you for your willingness to put your own life on the line for those who have no other voice, who have no other way of having their case made. I was deeply moved, Lauren, when you were sharing with me on a call yesterday some of the experiences you had after the trial and after the sentencing, your journey of incarceration. And I was wondering if you could share a little bit about your experiences there, what you went through, but also some of the lessons of what maybe God was teaching you in the midst of that.
So during my time of our incarceration, in general, I always try to make the best of any situation. And so I knew going in, there are going to be people who need help. There are going to be people who need the message of hope and love. They're going to need that radical pro-life message. And it came at me in every direction, to be honest. And there were so many people who are honestly the forgotten of the forgotten. Oftentimes, incarcerated people are completely written off because for whatever reason of whatever people feel towards incarcerated people, but there is such profound loss, especially pregnancy loss, family separation, abortion grief, and there's no programs, there's no materials or resources that can help them adequately or even begin to address, especially this abortion grief and abortion regret, even abortion curiosity. They've had an abortion and now they don't really know what they feel like, but they want someone to listen to them. And so at every facility that I ended up going to, and then I'm spending 7 months in Tallahassee, it was day after day, people coming up to me and being like, I heard about your case, because each night we would get our mail, and I would get mail from people across the world, and 20 different letters some days. And so people were like, why are you getting so much mail? Can you tell me about your life? And it would just give me that opportunity to then jumpstart and share the message, and then be an active listener, and being an empathetic listener. And it was extremely challenging because, I'm living with people from vastly different life experiences and values than myself. I'm living with people who have committed extreme and often obscene acts of violence and are continuing to commit extreme acts of violence. And so the question is, how do I love them? How do I love these people in the moment right now? How would Jesus love this person in front of me? And I look towards my time of living with the Missionaries of Charity and the spirituality of Mother Teresa to really live up to the demands of love in this moment. Very challenging moments, but there was a lot of resiliency, a lot of beauty during this time of incarceration as well. I made really deep and abiding friendships, and I can look back during my incarceration not with bitterness or sadness or any regrets of any of that nature. I look back very satisfied that I was able to bring positive change, beauty, joy, gratitude, and I look forward to other ways that I can still reach out to people who are incarcerated and experiencing abortion regret.
I was so struck as you were talking now, and even yesterday when you first shared this with me, by your attitude. And you said earlier how you look at everything optimistically, but I think so many of us might have been embittered and might have just kind of pushed away. But for you to embrace that season and to use that moment to see love for everybody around you and to use that as an opportunity to share hope with others. Lauren, we're so thankful for the fact that you have now been pardoned. And I would love for you to share, where were you? What was it like when you heard the news? And what are your feelings of being pardoned by the President of the United States?
I was on the phone when I first heard about it. Someone was a very close loved one was like, "I'm watching a video of Trump signing the pardon," and I was like, "No, that's an AI video. That's not true. I'm not being pardoned." It was complete disbelief. I really, really didn't think I was getting pardoned. I mean, I told my family, my loved ones, I'm not getting pardoned. Don't have any hope, because I didn't want to be disappointed. I didn't want my family to be disappointed. And so it was complete shock. I didn't know what to feel. I didn't know what to think. I was like, no, it's AI. It's not real. But it was real. So there was a lot of joy and a lot of celebration, but also a lot of sadness because I was leaving my friends and we had a lot of goals. I set out to make the Catholic group on campus, on the prison campus, alive and thriving because we went from two people, me being the third person, to 15 to 20 people. And I had goals of like starting abortion grief counseling, informal groups. And so like there was a sense of sadness, but also like this renewed hope that like because I understand the experiences going on the inside, I know how I can better help people from the outside now.
Mm. So there you were, making missionary disciples in prison. Praise God for that. And also, Lauren, I just want you to appreciate the seeds that you planted during that time. It may take years for some of them to bear fruit, but thank you for your willingness to plant those seeds, to water them, to nurture them, and now for you to be able to share what you've experienced on the inside of prison, but also on the outside. And I again didn't warn him I would do this ahead of time. I'm going to pull up Martin Cannon, your attorney, on screen here as well. I would love, Lauren, for you to share your feelings about Martin Cannon, the Thomas More Society team, and also all those who are here who have been praying for you for these many months and who've been supporting these legal efforts and are so thrilled to hear the news of your pardon.
Well, first of all, people's prayers and attention on this issue kept me safe because there were often times where the environment was in was very dangerous. And I am so appreciative of all the prayers and the support and the letters sent my way during this entire time before my arrest, during my arrest, during the trial, and during my incarceration. Martin has been there every step of the way. I just have so much respect for him that he has been very sensitive and respectful to me, my life circumstances, and especially during the trial, which was in some ways like designed to be humiliating as possible. He was able to create an environment where my dignity was respected and uplifted because the prosecution, the administration, the media, they wanted to humiliate me. They wanted to instill shame and fear into me. And with a really strong team behind me, we were able to soundly reject all fear and go boldly forward. And like I couldn't have done that without Martin.